Yeah, that's fine. As long as we can see it. Oh, people are joining us.
Great.
Should I get my computer for the chat?
No.
Okay. Oh, Julia she and her husband are both there. Hello, hello, hello. We're starting soon. Trying to get all our tech stuff working. A few glitches over here. It's an adventure. New adventures.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the second half of Life Studio. We're a little off our podcasting game today.
Yeah, well, someone over here does streaming all the time, and someone here that sets up the tech got it wrong.
Yeah. Hi, Julie and Julia. So great to see everybody here. Carolyn, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining us live.
Hi, Julie. I saw you this morning.
I know, right? Long time no see.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the second half of Life Studio, everybody. I'm Brad Dobson. If you don't know me, I'm her husband. I'm the behind-the-scenes tech guy. And I kind of sold Minette on this show.
No, he totally did. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Minette Riordan, and together we are Mindful Patterns and do a lot of work together behind the scenes. And we have on and off for probably the last 15 years. And this year we celebrated 30 years of marriage.
Ooh.
I know. Yay, us. These microphones are a pain as well. And we've been talking about getting another podcast going for the last 3 years, I think, and just kind of nothing stuck.
Yeah, I wrote down that we had a podcast called Structure and Flow, and we actually ran 100 episodes of that.
We did.
We were very organized. We had guests and everything, and it ran its course. Mm-hmm. And but recently, I think, Minetta's had a lot of our members and clients, and actually her brother-in-law and some other people that we know asking, or brother, I'm sorry, do you do this for guys? Mm-hmm. And so we kind of decided to expand on that and have some fun together doing it. So
because we do love to work together, and people often ask us, how do you work together? And at the end of the show, we're going to share what we're calling our real life wisdom segment, where we're going to give you some insights into how do we make this work and still enjoy being with each other all the time.
It works most of the time.
It does. All right. You want to show your pretty slides?
Sure. Hey, you folks in the chat, can you hear us all? Are we actually talking, or are we talking into the void? Anyone? I'm not seeing it in the chat, Minette. I hope this is working. Nobody's typing in the chat. I wonder if we just did that fantastic intro and nobody could hear us. Yes, they can.
Yay.
Wonderful. All right. Sometimes it's hard when you're talking into the internet void. Wonderful. Okay, let's go over to the slides.
Thanks everybody. So I want to talk a little bit just for a minute. Our official sponsor of the show is us and our membership program, the Sisterhood of Wisdom and Wonder. This is the main work that we have the honor, privilege, and pleasure to do, and it is specifically designed for women over 50. And every time Brad sits in behind the scenes, hi Tori, on one of the episodes or one of our mythical makeover experience, he says, I'm having all the same questions that you're posing and that I'm hearing from all of these ladies. And so that kind of was another sort of bump in the direction of how can we have this conversation about the his and her perspective of what is changing and who we're becoming in life after 50.
Yep. So for what we're covering today, we're just going to have 3 segments. Probably, it's not going to be super short. Segment 1 is what we're reading. Both of us read a lot, nonfiction and fiction. We'll be talking about nonfiction today.
We could talk about fiction too, though.
Yeah, but I'm kind of tired of Brandon Sanderson at this point. Segment 2 will be a main conversation about, where we find ourselves becoming in the second half of life. And then finally, some real life wisdom about things that are working for us or have worked for us in the past.
Yeah, I love it.
So, segment 1, what we're reading. Let's go back to video. You want to start?
Sure, I can start. So we have 2 books this month because we haven't read the book that each other is reading, although we often do. And I think the one that you just finished, Second Mountain, was another tipping point that pushed us over the edge to this book. But the book Release is one that I haven't quite finished reading yet, and it was recommended by one of the members of our community, Maggie Shannon. Thank you, Maggie. And it's called Release. And the conversation around clutter is one that comes up over and over again in our own lives. And if you could see the art table around you with all my stuff on it, and then Brad's very neat desk upstairs, we have very different approaches.
Quite.
And we 2 years ago cleaned out my dad's house after 30 years, a lot of clutter. And it comes up in conversations in the sisterhood all the time about how do I let go of all of these things that I'm attached to. So what I loved about the book Release is that it talks about 4 different types of clutter: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And so oftentimes we think that getting rid of clutter, it should be easy to put that cute little scrub with Connor's little footprints on it, into the
I've never let that go.
cycle. Right. Or to think, I'm not using this anymore. Could someone else use it? Or we get caught in, I have this big envelope full of cards that I wrote to my grandmother and she saved, right? So they're not cards she wrote to me, but the other way around. And I can't let go of them. Right. So we have drawers and closets and boxes full of these things that were inherited, gifted, given. Brad and I like to buy art a lot of times when we travel. So we have a house full of beautiful art that we've been given or have purchased.
Or painted.
Or painted. Yes. Painted. We have paintings, a cute little scissortail flycatcher there. Our daughter painted. So, the house feels very full, and it's true that nobody wants our shit, right? Our kids look around. They don't want this. We're looking at all of our parents' homes full of stuff and thinking we don't want all of their stuff. And so this conversation of clutter goes really deep into more than just letting go of the item, but often involving having to let go of our attachment to a memory, to a person, to an opportunity or an event. And it's tricky. So that's what I've been reading and talking about.
Basis of Buddhism, right?
Yes. Yes.
As a Buddhist, it's all about attachment and the suffering that comes from that.
Non-attachment. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I had never thought of it in the perspective of, clutter for me is a problem. It comes as a physical and mental weight, and decluttering is a big deal. And then when I look at it from the perspective of what I'm leaving behind, that's just it's just a chore for future for my kids or whoever. So,
and I think we've been in that place a lot lately of looking at how can we ease things for our kids when we go. And we're young. It's not like we're thinking about, we're going to be gone tomorrow, and life happens, right?
Sure.
So, but there's this sense of watching our own parents decline and aging that has made us really conscious about how can we do this in a conscious way and not as a last thought. So it's been, these books are all sparking these conversations, and have everything to do with our main conversation today around who am I becoming?
Who was the author? Do you remember?
I don't, and I didn't write it down.
We'll get it in the notes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I read David Brooks' book, The Second Mountain.
And you're a David Brooks fan. This is your
second book, I think. And this book was, I don't know, it just brought up so much for me. It was very life-changing. The concept is that as younger people, we climb the first mountain in life, which would be striving for career and family and success and those types of things, car, house. And at some point in our lives, we, have that, what is it? The thing with the soul where, anyways, we have some sort of interrupting event that changes everything for us. And we find that what we really want is to climb this second mountain, which is one of giving of the self and living outside of our own ego-based approach to life.
I would say we become more service-oriented and less self-focused, right? Instead of running around trying to take care of our immediate family needs and responsibilities or our career goals, right? Which our career goals often tend to be that ego. Brad and I are both high achievers, hard workers. It's hard to put that down.
Right.
And so
I find that it's just part of my core, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so we're looking at how can we shift that focus from it's all about me to it's all about we, right?
Yeah. And he writes it from the perspective of where we have a lot of societal issues where the fabric, that interleaving of people's lives, whether it's your neighbor or the lady on the street watching the kids or whatever it is, that we've had a lot of that decline in that and degradation in that, and that his point is that the second mountain and our work to work with others and weave relationships with them that is so important because it improves that again. We have the opportunity to strengthen community or bring it back where it never was before. Just a fascinating book. He spent a little bit too much time on his religious journey and that's not really my thing, but from a philosophical perspective, it's quite a book to read.
But your Buddhist journey is similar to that. He just has a different
Yeah.
faith foundation. But I think, so some of the things from what Brad has shared, and I've read about the book, that are really aligned with the conversations Brad and I are having and that I'm having with so many of the women in my community have to do with finding purpose and meaning in our lives. And it's very, very common for women in particular, maybe more than men. This is one of those questions we can ask if there are men listening or you're having this conversation with your spouse, but there's this desire for reconnecting to spirituality. And spirituality can be defined in so many different ways that it can simply be feeling connected to something larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? And that larger than yourself can be nature. It can be God, right? It can be relationships, right? As Tori said, it really does come down to the relationships with our life and what we want out of those relationships and what we have to give.
Yeah, and what we're willing to put into it. And this is coming from someone who's
willing to put into it is a big part of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, I'm admittedly introverted and shy and I'm not a good joiner and never have been. And so it's always a stretch for me to go outwards. And so a book like this makes me question that quite a bit.
Yeah, they've been some good reads. But we want to hear from you guys. And so we have a fun, quick poll for you all about clutter, because it has been such a topic of conversation lately. We want to know, how full are your closets?
This is what we call a leading indicator for how much you need to release from your life. So just type A, B, or C, or if you have a different answer than one of these, type that into the chat. And if you have questions along the way, we're watching the chat as we go. Feel free to type your comments and your questions right into the chat. Well, thank you for saying we're adorable. The books were Release and Deep Work.
No, Release and the Second Mountain.
Second Mountain.
Deep Work was another.
Yeah.
another favorite book?
We've got A's, B's, and C's.
Yeah, so we're all over the map, right? C, but still too much.
Not that many C's.
Yeah. Well, give them a chance to answer here. I mean, if you look at our closet, I agree. It's our bedroom closet is relatively neat and tidy, and yet the drawers are full and could definitely use some help. Messy, but there's room. That's my whole studio. I have a 1,200 square foot studio.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Over the last 25 years, we moved full house 3 times.
Yep, and we let go of so much every time.
But there were still boxes that made it through all those.
Yeah. Sheila, of course you're a C, my neat and tidy and organized friend. It's the desk. Yes, totally.
A lot of A's and B's though. Yeah, for sure. And we have no judgment about anyone else's closets. Oh, I totally do. I'm judgy.
And it's simply noticing. It's another thing that Brad and I talk a lot about, and we talk a lot about in the sisterhood as well. It's like really pausing to look around. Right? Really pausing to look around. I love, Julie, I know you just redid your bedroom too, right? Container store closets and a few still messy. We love our container store closet that Brad built himself as well. It makes a lot of difference to have the right types of containers. And there's a really fun quiz. It was Clutterbug. Clutterbug was her name. She's an organizer, and she had a fun quiz on what type of organizer you are.
Yeah, that was very well done.
It was so helpful, and I am 100% a butterfly, which means I need to be able to see everything. So I started shifting everything in my studio from boxes I couldn't see inside of to clear boxes, and it's made like little small things like that make a difference. But it also forced me to go through every box in my studio a few times and get rid of things that I'm not using and donate those. Yeah. So we could talk about this topic all day long, but let's go ahead and move on to our main conversation. Who are we becoming in the second half of life?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, Manette.
I know you're not sure, but you haven't been sure for several years now.
Yeah, for real. This one hit me hard. We, like most people, well, maybe not like most people, I don't know. I ended the bulk of her career in software, finished up a job, and both kids left the house, and we ended up moving, and other rigmarole with kids, and all of a sudden I looked up and I said to Manette, I have no idea who I am. And I've been digging into that deeper over the last
3 years, 4 years, 4 years,
and I still don't. Oh boy.
And I don't know. Is that true? I think you know who you are at the core, and there's a difference between knowing who we are, liking who we are, and choosing what it is we want to focus on in our lives.
Yeah. This, this idea of, I have it in a course that was written by a army doctor, emergency out in the field type of doctor, field doctor, presents it more as a mission type of thing. This book that we just talked about, The Second Half of Life, it's, positioned as a mountain. Is it a mission? Is it your purpose? The ER doc said he wanted to look at things in terms of a 10-year scope. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
And I'm going to be 71 in 10 years. Right? That's a big difference from, I'm going to be 50 or I'm going to be 60. I'm going to be 71 in 10 years.
But I wanted to look back at my notes. I had something here. Oh, I know what it was. I think what's come out of this a lot is that my career and my striving and what we'll call that first mountain, for build the house and the kids and the family and the career, that always allowed me to cover up not really having any mission of my own. That was the mission. And I don't regret that at all. I mean, I did a good job of At least I think so. Making money and getting houses and cars and families and kids. But
we were good at making babies.
Yeah, right. But it allowed me to not have to think about those bigger things. And hey, maybe this is just what happens when you turn whatever I am, 58 or 55.
Yeah, he's younger than I am. Just saying.
I think there's some people that come out of the womb knowing this stuff. Like you see it in doctors or teachers or the clergy. They just know. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I ever did. And so this is where it's exposed me, like it feels exposed.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that. I don't have the excuse where I have a job to go to every day, that type of thing where it covers it up.
Yeah, and I've been the opposite. I've been very mission driven, but that mission changes every 8 to 10 years. People that know me. She gets
happy feet.
I do. I get happy feet. I get bored. The creative in me gets this longing to create something new. And this is my third business, and Brad has helped with all of those businesses in so many different ways. But I think for me, it's like, for me, there had to be a mission there. And every time I've switched, it's aligned with where I am at the stage of life. So it's no surprise that at 61, I'm supporting other women in life after 50 to figure out how to answer this question. Right? It's impossible to follow a passion when you don't know what that is. And Brad has mentioned multiple times lately he's working on my passion right now. Sure. Right? And that's, business is my dream, and I couldn't do it alone. And so this show is also about how do we voice his part in that and make your creative input so much more visible. But when I think about over the last 35 years that we've known each other, one of the questions is how have we changed over that time? Like what got us to that place of questioning who am I now? And I can very clearly pinpoint those moments when that question felt so urgent. And it was in our last business, when we had a business coaching company, when we were working together called Path to Profit, where we worked with artists and creatives on building their business. And that was a shared vision for sure. And there came a moment in that business where I started to question, who am I? What am I doing? I'm missing the art part. There was this just almost insatiable desire and longing to have more time for creative expression. I didn't expect that to become my business, the focus of my business, but I knew it needed to change. But I think when I look back, the places where we've grown together and individually, just so much less interested in performing and more interested in telling the truth. For me, being rooted in creativity has changed everything. And that second mountain piece, like my devotion to supporting others on their journey, it's less about my journey. I feel very clear about who I am and what my mission and purpose are. Brad doesn't. So, right, there's some disconnect there as well. There. Yeah, you will.
I think of myself as a multi-potentialite as well.
Yeah, for sure. And for sure. Which is one of the best TED Talks out there.
That can be a struggle as well, because it means that I'm latched onto your business, and I'm latched onto another idea and another idea and another idea. And that can make it hard to find what your passion is when you get passion from all of the things.
Yeah. So does that say Luna? Luna said she read an article about how life is what gave us structure, and now we have to create our own, which is true if you're an entrepreneur as well. Like when you work for a company, there's this pre-existing structure, right? And owning a business, I get to, and I have to create structure. But it's a great way of describing what I'm hearing people say when they retire. And all of a sudden, all that structure is gone, and you feel lost, and you feel like you're floundering, right? And I think also so much of that first mountain was about adding more to our lives, more credentials, more achievement, more clarity, more success, right? The bonuses, the bigger salary.
I spent 30 years on the software ladder, and my only job at the meta level was to try and move up that ladder, and I worked hard to do that. I could, there wasn't a point in not striving in my mind, but moving away from that is a whole new world.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think when we talk about all the identity shifts and the things that have changed, where that first mountain is about adding, it feels like this stage of life is about subtracting, right? My becoming is related to what I want less of, right? Not about how do I become better, but how do I become more myself?
Right.
All the time, right? And what does that look like? What does the self look like when I look in that mirror? Do I recognize that woman who's looking back at me? And I do. I'm so glad. And, thinking about this idea of who are we becoming at this stage of life has everything to do with time and energy. And Brad and I love listening to audiobooks on road trips. It's like our thing. We talk about them, we reflect on them. And we read one a number of years ago called The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Lair and Tony Schwartz. And it was all about how to manage your energy, not your time. And out of all the books we've read, it's one that has just really stuck with me because I'm so good at overfilling my time. You can ask Brad, I don't rest well. I don't sit still well. My hands always have to be busy. And I learned some painful lessons about overfilling my calendar with people, which meant I didn't get enough time for my own creative practice. And I don't want to become a hermit. So these days it's about how do we have more time together where we're not talking about the business, which we love to do. And how do we take time off, like truly step away from everything we're doing. But what can I let go of? Because I'm really good at complicating things as well, right? And how can I simplify? So for me, that second mountain has a lot to do with subtraction. Right back to our topic of releasing. So it's releasing being busy has been a big part of my journey of becoming, I think.
Yeah. And there's some practical reasons for that too. We're right in the middle of aging parents and trying to help them out. And there needs to be time in our lives for that. And that's certainly changing me. Manette's had that for a bit of a longer period, but I'm in the thick of it right now. And so there needs to be more space for that in our lives. And I can't, living the life of striving it's in opposition to trying to make spaciousness, to be patient and loving with parents that need extra help.
And Brad's dad told him on a recent visit to not wait to do the things that you want to do at all, right? And so, that's very present on our minds.
Maybe 10 years ago, maybe in my 40s.
But he told you again recently.
Yeah.
Don't wait to travel. Don't wait to do the things that you want to do. And in fact, I think I said this on one of our calls. I'd be wealthy if I had a dime for every time someone said, oh, I'll pick my art up again when I retire, or I'll travel when I'll retire, or I'll do this, I'll start my exercise, right? Or I'll move, or whatever it is that we tend to put off reward and celebration until we're done with that achievement part.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of stopping and pausing to celebrate along the way. And I talk about that a lot, and I have to remember to do it myself. And so we hold each other accountable for a lot of these things, for the taking time off, for the resting, for the celebrating, for looking at what's working instead of always seeing what's going wrong.
I have no background in celebrating wins. I love celebrating wins for other people, but in terms of myself, I don't spend that time, and it's to my detriment. So Manette helps with that.
Yes to doing the fun stuff now, right, Karen Joy? Yes, it's Karen and I are both getting ready to take road trips. We're both big road trip fans. And in fact, Brad and I, within a few months of knowing each other, we knew we both love road trips. And our very first travel together was we flew from San Francisco to San Diego took a taxi across the border to Tijuana, rented a car in Tijuana, and drove
south.
halfway down Baja California for a week or so. This is when I was still in grad school at Stanford.
There's a beautiful little town and beach called Mulegé.
Yeah.
About halfway down on the Sea of Cortez. Fantastic place.
Yeah, and we camped. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. No glamping. It was camping for sure. But there's no better way to get to know each other than through traveling together, for sure.
Well, that'll be one of our little pieces of wisdom we'll talk about later in terms of walking together.
Yeah, so I really want to move on and talk about the shift in identity that happens as we age. And this happens at multiple points in our lives, right? It happens when we graduate college and start our careers. All of a sudden, then we realize maybe we're in the wrong career and there might be another big shift, or you might be a lifer in your career of choice. And then when that career is gone, your identity also feels like it's gone because so much of us is wrapped up in that external trappings of success. Or for those of you that were stay-at-home parents, right? And the kids are gone and you had this focus and direction in your life for so long. And then all of a sudden you find yourself facing an empty nest. We are very happy empty nesters, right? And that doesn't mean that first year wasn't hard and painful.
Yep.
Right. And so it's
a big
this
change.
Constant tension between the roles we played, and as parents of young adults, 27 and 24-year-olds, our relationship with our kids is changing. Like Tori said, it's all about the relationship. What does that look like at this stage of life? How do we stay connected and curious and interested in these young adults who are becoming their own people and are so much separate from us than they've ever been before? So our parenting role is changing. Our caregiving role is changing. So as Brad mentioned, I have a lot of parents. My mom's been married a few times to great guys all around. And so I've already lost a stepmom and a stepdad, both of them within 2007 and 2014. But now we're sitting with watching our parents age before our eyes. And maybe you are the person that is aging before your children's eyes. And it's such a different stage of life to be in. I think it gives a lot of perspective. And Brad had a Substack for a while that was all about thriving to 99 and beyond, as opposed to striving. And I think this idea of identity is, what am I doing today that makes me have the strength, the vitality, the vibrancy, the creativity in my 80s that I want to have, right?
Yeah.
And the physical energy and stamina to keep doing all the things that I love.
Yeah, you're not going to... What I was writing about was, avoiding, there's a difference between lifespan and life,
expectancy.
The term eludes me. Anyways,
it'll come back.
The point is to be thriving in your 80s and not just living in your 80s. And to do that, there's some health things that need to happen in terms of, lifting weights and taking supplements and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's like everything we do right now is we're looking at what does this mean for us down the road?
Yeah.
I don't know that we looked at that as much in our
40s
or career
back
days.
when we were still drinking our way through
we're
family gatherings and
just trying to, get the kids to practice or whatever.
Yeah. But we talk about this a lot because if we're having a conversation about who are we becoming in the second half of our life, we can't leave out the conversation about health at all, right? Yeah. And it's something that Brad and I have both struggled with, consistency
mightily
around, right? And, self-perspective around. And if we stay focused on what can I do today to become the woman or man that I want to be tomorrow, I think it shifts how we choose to spend our energy and our time.
Yeah. And we're not, I don't know. I think that we just spend a lot of time as younger people not worrying about those things. And because, it's typical, right? You can just sort of blast through. You went out late on a Friday night and you got up early on a Saturday morning or whatever and just pushed through. It didn't matter. And it's not as easy. And in a lot of ways, maybe it is as easy, but you're just not as willing to do it at this age.
Yeah.
And so it's front and center in terms of making your way through the day, and the plans that we make is how great our sleep is going to be and things like that. I'm getting better at that. I'm still not very good.
For sure. But it is part of the identity question. So I want to circle back around to this idea of identity, because it's the number one question that we hear over and over and over again in every workshop, live event, right? Conversations between us. It's, who am I now? And so often we feel like this is a crisis. I think it's where midlife crisis comes from, is because we can no longer confidently say, well, I am da-da-da-da-da, right? And so when that ground literally falls out from underneath us because of the roles we played, and it leaves us either just floundering and lost, or like a hamster on a wheel running around in circles trying to find the answer.
I was completely lost.
So lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was painful.
Rudderless.
Yes. And, I think if we think about this question, who am I now, through the lens of curiosity and the opportunity to forge something new and at the same time true, right? There's a part of us that got put aside at some point in our lives, whether it was being an athlete or an artist, right? Or Brad always wanted to be an astronaut.
Sure.
Yeah. And still likes to
want to go to space.
Still loves rockets. Watching the rocket launches.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, it's like there's that part of me that always wanted to be a cowgirl, right? Well, how can I bring that back? I grew up in Texas, by the way. He grew up in Canada. Very different places and perspectives. But when we think back to, I don't need to go be a cowgirl, but what was the promise of that? And what part of my identity got wrapped up into that sense of freedom and adventure? I had a horse growing up. I had a lot of freedom to just get on my horse and ride around my neighborhood on my own without any parental supervision. Totally a Gen X latchkey kid, had a lot of freedom, right? And when did work and life and career and kids get in the way of embracing that freedom? So I think about that a lot, which has to do with subtraction, not addition. Right? It has to do with having the time and spaciousness to embrace that. I don't want to own a horse anymore. I don't want to own a ranch or a big piece of property anymore. I don't want to work that hard. But how can I create those pockets of freedom in my life? Because it's a core part of who I am.
Yeah, it's interesting. What was it? It might have been Huberman. I was listening to one of the podcasts, but or no, actually it might have been Albert Brooks talking to Chris Williamson on a podcast, talking about how
Arthur Brooks,
Albert Brooks, Mel Brooks. There's too many Brooks. David Brooks, talking about how when we look back, it was the things that really excited us.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
As a child. Mm-hmm. And, when we're sitting here and I'm thinking about it, I was always very creative. Like my mind just wants to create. It just wants to go and run around outside and, being in nature. And I don't know that I'm really that different now.
I was going to say what that looks like now is slow bird walks.
Yeah, right. But I don't know that I'm really that different from that kid.
Yeah.
So how can I bring more of that into my identity, like you said?
Yeah, those evening walks after dinner. I shared on one of the sisterhood calls this week about our evening walk. We saw a nighthawk. We saw a black-crowned night heron, which was an unexpected and fun gift. And normally after 8 o'clock, you can't get us up and out the door, but we did get up and out. It was a beautiful sunset. So it's a reminder to get up and out, right? I can spend a lot of time down here in my studio by myself. making art and listening to, all kinds of fantasy fiction on my Audible. But I think then, from the identity, another way of answering the question around who am I now has to do with looking at what matters, right? That idea of meaning making and what makes life fulfilling. For things that are so important for me are that just unconditional love of self and others, peace, honesty, freedom, friendship, health and energy, having meaningful work, time and nature. So when I look at what matters now, it's so different than what mattered a decade or 2 decades ago. And I think that's part of that second mountain that we're maybe just at the base of and looking at climbing towards.
Yeah. And like I said, this one course that I took from the ER doctor, talking about mission and what it is. And once again, same thing with this David Brooks book. That one's really got me question myself. I haven't been someone who lived their life outward focused, and I'm not sure if I have it in me, and I'm not sure if maybe my version of that is just writing.
Yeah. You haven't talked about your writing at all as one of the ways that you're finding meaning.
Maybe that's a way for me to live outwards. And I just tag along with Manette in terms of friend groups. We'll see.
Brad used to have a name tag that had his name on it and an arrow that said, "I'm with Manette," when we used to do a lot of networking back in the day, right? And so we've alluded at it, but let's kind of pull together some of our thoughts around what are we still trying to figure out? Because that's so much of who we're becoming. And as who we're becoming individually, as children of aging parents, as parents of grown adults, right? And as a couple being married, there's so many aspects to this. And it's so easy to get focused on who is this right here?
Sure.
But we're not becoming in isolation unless you live in a hut somewhere in the wilderness, which he would love and I would not.
I don't know. This concept of a 10-year look forward as a mission is
Tori says you can be our friend. I think Bob and Brad would get along well, Tori.
Free friends, just had to get on camera. This concept of a 10-year mission is something that I can get my mind around, whether that's I'm not going to change the world, but I think it's a worthy approach in terms of what I want to become, is just figure out what that mission is.
Yeah.
I can't answer that right now.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll get there. I think part of it is we are both still ambitious people. We do have goals and dreams that are both inner and outward facing. And so how can we honor our ambition without it becoming the overworking, striving, pushing, right? Hustle energy of our 30s and 40s.
Sure.
How do we release clutter without rushing the grief, right? So much of the stuff we're holding on to has memories, so many memories, right? And it can be really hard to let go when we feel like maybe we're letting go of a person.
Or our identity.
Or our identity, right? The closet full of work clothes or dress clothes. Yeah,
That's right.
For sure.
That's right. What do you think?
What?
Should we wrap this part up?
Are we going to wrap this part up? I could keep going for days, but we will be back again. Yes. So let's wrap it up with our final section of real life wisdom.
Yeah.
And we're showing the slides to make it easy to break this out into parts later. So bear with us.
So Manette came up with 2 things that we think are integral.
Can you say that differently? I'm not telling you what your wisdom is.
I agreed with Manette on this. No. So 2 things we wanted to talk about. One is journaling and one is walking together. So journaling, actually let's do the walking together because I think we've done this longer probably. We walked together for a long time, 2 or 3 miles a day mostly. And we miss our days, but I think in some years it was running and jogging, and other years it was walking. But I think I've maintained all along, it's awfully hard to say mad at someone on a 2 or 3 mile walk or a 7 mile
10
run.
mile. Yeah.
And so, for those days when we were struggling, it was still a way to get past that. Because you're just not going to spend an hour on the trail with someone and say nothing. Maybe some of you on the chat might disagree, but
sometimes we do, but it's comfortable silence.
Not the side eye type of stuff. We work around the seasons, and right now, an evening walk is great. We're in Colorado, we have actual seasons, and there's some mornings when it's -10 and windy, and maybe it's a very short walk, but
or a no walk.
But I think
no walk.
The
windy -10, no walk.
The more important part is that there's just so many walks when we go really deep, either on personal issues or on the business or both. And there's some days when it's just me, and some day, talking, and some days when it's Manette talking, where she's got, all her ideas, and other days where it's both of us. And more often than not, we're just completely in tune on the ideas coming out of our mouths. It just takes time to work through them. Yeah,
we're not always in alignment on the ideas at the same time.
Yeah. But that ambulation, it's what people are built to do, and I think it's an important part of our relationship. So that's one part of the wisdom.
Yeah. So Brad and I ran a couple of half marathons together when we lived in Texas.
In the day.
Yeah. And the kids were young. Marriage was still relatively young. We were both focused on career, and it was rough, right? There was a lot of disconnection that was happening. We were not on our own or each other's, the top of that priorities list. And the walking was our version of therapy, and being able to just hash it out, right? And I still have clear memories of a beach walk in Goleta where I said, I am no longer doing all the cooking and shopping in this house. I can't. And it wasn't that Brad or anyone ever said, Manette, you have to be responsible for this, but it was how I was raised, and I like to cook, right? But it was that moment of, wow, why am I holding the burden of this, right? All by myself instead of asking for help. And if Brad would probably tell you, I'm not very good at asking for support when I need it. I'm very independent, right?
And so we share that.
We do. So it was that moment of like, how can we shift the way that we are supporting ourselves and our families? And that came out of a talk, right? One of many awesome, beautiful beach walks in Goleta. And then that second thing is journaling. We're both lifelong writers, journalers, love to write, have kept journals on and off for a long time. But I think I would say in the last decade, it's become an essential part of our personal self-care is to have some type of journaling practice. I think currently you're more consistent than I am.
A lot of kvetching. Sometimes I over journal and it becomes rumination. So, but I'm a writer, and it's a good way to get my thoughts down. And I spend a lot of time in my head, and so it's a way to externalize that. Get stuff out on paper. Pretty critical part of I think.
Well, I think that just that identity piece, that like being able to name what's happening, naming, I feel lost. Naming, I don't know who I am right now, but also naming, maybe my mission is this, my values are that. I've been teaching and working with core values for over 20 years now. And to me, it's such a crucial part of both identity and purpose is understanding what your core values are. And Brad and I, steak.
Steak is one of my core values.
Yeah, humor is one of his core values for sure.
This is true.
And, so I think if you haven't looked at your core values in a long time and you're questioning identity and mission, it's a great place to start talking and writing about values. And my version version of journaling has changed dramatically since, my high school and college days of keeping a diary about everything that was happening, to really benefiting from using prompts and asking myself questions rather than stream of consciousness. In fact, so much so that I just completed my 100-day project. Here on my YouTube channel, you can find a playlist of our 100-day project where I did 100 days of prompts that were both visual and verbal. I'm very much a verbal processor. I'm sorry, Brad, for 30 years of having to listen to me go blah, trying to figure everything out and talk things through when they're like clear as mud. A lot of those walks is me rambling and him going, I don't get it. And so journaling is a way for me to get through those ideas, get them down on paper, think about them, talk about them, and then be able to bring them into a more fruitful conversation.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Any final questions? We got a couple of more minutes here. Any questions for us that you'd love to ask?
I didn't know we were on a timer.
We're not on a timer. Yeah. But, we could go all day. Or any suggestions for topics you'd love to hear from us? Next episode, we're going to be talking about why creativity and creative expression matters so much to us at this stage of our lives. But we'd love suggestions for other topics or any questions.
Yeah, and of course you could email Manette with those as well, since you all know her email.
I'm pretty easy to find. I remember one of my aunts. Yeah, great conversation. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Julie.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Julie, you and Mark should come on and talk about where you guys are in your collaborative life at this point too.
Julie and I have been secret writing partners in the morning for the last 3 weeks. An hour on Zoom, writing in our novels, typing away the next great American novel.
Yeah. Enjoyed meeting Brad. You guys hear a lot about him, but it's nice to have a face. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, appreciate guys. You coming out to listen and hang out with us today. And we'll see you in about a month for episode number 2 on creativity.
Yeah. And we'll be sending out an email for the next invite.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.